godchild. I grew up with her grandkids and stuff like that. So it was really cool to hear his take on what happened back in the 70s with that whole movement. And we did an interview with another woman named Sally English, and she was kind of a mover and shaker in her time. The Haudenosaunee culture has roles that men and women play, and part of that is with the hunting. The men go out, they do the hunting, and the women basically take care of what they bring back. Whereas Sally was a woman that would go out and hunt and then take care of what she brought back. So she was a treat to deal with. She's in her 90s. She lives at Woodland Cultural Center. Yes, that's exactly where she lives, guys. She lives at Iroquois Lodge in Ashwaubenon, in Six Nations, Ontario, and she's still doing her thing and walking around all the time and stuff like that. So it was really cool to deal with her, and she came and she watched the first play that we did. So we decided that we would take that play and it was mostly written by kids. Like, we had a group of about 5 kids that did skits based on the interviews, and then we took them and we turned them into scenes, and then we built the play. So we decided to take the play back and workshop it. We rewrote it, and we focused more on the story of Ray, who is our main character, and his sister, and what happened to their family during this time that they were in residential school and afterwards. And we kind of tried to make it so that the family was not a representative of any one family, but every family that we could think of. So I brought in Ray and young Ray. And the characters' names, the brother and sister, when they're kids, their names are Donge and Gayatase, which is my traditional name and my son's traditional name.
Hi.
Hi. Let's go back a little bit about this. Now, so Generations is a play that has been produced in a form before.
Yeah.
And it is currently being produced here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center by yourself.
Yeah.
And this is the story of Ray. It follows a gentleman who goes from a residential school as he travels to Vietnam and back, and only through the teachings of children and grown-ups does he reconnect with his language and his tradition. And he is Haudenosaunee.
Yeah.
And so this play is happening on November 18th at 7:30 p.m. You can put it on there. November 18th at 7:30 p.m. To get tickets, you can reach us at 716-282-7530. That's 716-282-7530. Tickets are $10 for general admission and $5 for students and veterans. So tell me a little bit about this. So you became part of this play. You helped write it.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Like, does one just sit around one day and go, you know what, I think we're going to write a play?
I actually jumped into a theater group last year with Gary Farmer, and he was like, I know this guy and I think you'd be a good fit. So he sent me to Brant Theatre Workshops to do a audition for a play that Peter was putting on, and I got involved that way. And then after that summer was done, Peter was like, well, do you want to stay on and do this committee? And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I ended up getting a year contract with them, and I've been there since,
slope.
Yeah, I've been there since April full time. And Peter really gave us this unique opportunity as Six Nations people. We don't really have programs out there to have our stories told. So he gave us this awesome opportunity to tell our stories from our perspective. He actually co-wrote the play with me, and he's very much like, he kind of just lets us take the lead in everything. Like, his approach to even directing is the same way. Like, he's like, okay, well, here's the words, you guys do what you're going to do with it, and then we'll shape it up. So he's a really awesome person to work with.
Well, that's pretty fantastic. So how long did it take you to write a play?
The first round, we started in February and we performed in May. And then this time around, we brought it back into workshop, I believe in July. We kind of started dealing with it. And then we actually sat down and workshopped it with Gary again in the end of August, I believe.
So almost 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months, and then that, of course, doesn't count any of the production time. That's just making the script.
That's just the script, yeah.
And did it change a lot when you actually got it into workshop and into production?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have scenes that were completely cut from the first draft.
You ended up on the floor of so you ended up with like the cutting room floor.
Yeah, we ended up on we ended up doing quite a bit. Changed up a lot.
Because you're playing Ray.
I'm playing Ray, yes.
And your name is?
I'm Andrew.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And so, and I think I saw one of your photographs in some of the pictures of the promotions for the play.
Yes.
So, did you get a say in what your character sounded like? How did you decide?
Well, how I decided was I just went in, like Cheyenne said, and pretty much did what Peter asked me to do, just go do your thing, and then he helped me shape up the character. And now I'm pretty much trying to like fit into the character's shoes and trying to live how the character lived.
You know, did you learn anything in playing the character of Ray?
I learned a lot. I learned I didn't know how to speak Cuga, and I learned how to speak some words.
Wow.
I've learned what else did I learn?
Did you know about residential schools beforehand?
Yes, I knew a lot about residential schools. I knew about how they treated the students there. I knew about how they fed them yucky, spoiled, like gross stuff and everything. And what I didn't know is, sorry about that. What I didn't know is that they had good stories come out of there.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Now, one of the things that for people who are listening right now, they may not know what residential school is. Could you tell the audience a little bit about what
the introduction of the schools was? The schools were designed to kill the Indian in the child. So they would take these kids, and a good part of the time, the kids were not actually sent to school by their parents. Like, there were families that did send their kids to school. There are people that have come through the school with good stories to tell, and they had a good time when they were there. But there, for the most part, were kids that were forcibly removed from their homes, taken to these schools. A lot of times the schools they were taken to weren't anywhere close to their homes. And they would be treated really badly. Some of the stories that come through from the residential school close to us, which is the Mohawk Institute, the kids actually called it the mush hole, and the reason why it was called the mush hole was because they were fed spoiled mush while they were there. And the stories that came out were if they were caught speaking their language, the nuns would put castor oil down their throats, or they would stab them in the tongue with needles. And there was like huge atrocities that happened during that time. And the family structure was completely torn apart and rebuilt into this box that fit what the government had wanted Native people to look like. And the languages, a lot of the languages were wiped out. Like currently, right now, where we're sitting right now, is very close to the Tuscarora Indian Nation. And at this point in time, there are a lot of young people that are working towards bringing the Tuscarora language back. They're revitalizing the Tuscarora language, which I think is amazing. But there is currently like 1 or 2 fluent Tuscarora speakers, which is scary considering that that's a language that might be lost if they can't, pull it together in a short amount of time. But from what I'm seeing, there's some really big strides being taken. My nephew goes to school at the Indian Nation school, and my stepmom works there. She's working in the cafeteria there, so I get to hear all the stories about the kids. And he came home the one day, and it was like an awesome, proud auntie moment for me. He come home and he's like, "Guess what, auntie?" And I said, "What? What's going on, Cade?" And he's like, "I take Screw Ray at school," which I thought was really cool to have him like so proud of it, right? So that a big part of the reason why that happened is because of the residential schools, where they outlawed actually participating in any type of ceremonies and stuff like that. So it's been I'm not crying. It's been an upward battle to bring all of this back, and it's been the young people that have been taking those steps to doing those things. So that's where the idea of the play, having the kids bringing Ray back to the culture, comes from, because that's how things are happening in our communities across what we refer to as Indian Indian country. So all of our communities are so connected with each other. Like we all have family on different communities, or we have friends on different communities. So we all have this like interwoven web of communication that happens. And the things that have been happening with the young people has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are doing an amazing job, and I know that we're really looking forward to this. And and I think that really speaks to the importance of this play. What do you hope that this play will help bring about?
Well, what we're working on in Canada right now is the government came up with this committee called the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And they did all of this research on the things that happened during the time of residential schools, during what we refer to as the 50s and 60s scoop, where the Indian agent came onto the reserves and just took kids in masses on, putting them into the residential schools and putting them into foster care, removing them from their families. And we're trying to kind of bring an awareness to it, I guess. But the committee came up with all of these things that they had wanted basically Canada at large to do, to bring forth the education and the awareness to Aboriginal culture and history. So we're just kind of trying to push that a little bit on the artistic side.
I think that's pretty amazing. Actually, one of the first things that I remember growing up in Canada, which is a little bit different than here in the States, was actually that they had an Aboriginal channel. Right?
Yeah.
The television
APTN.
channel, right? Which, growing up, I grew up in a household of Canadians and Americans. And when we came over here and I got older, the fact that there wasn't an Aboriginal channel, I thought was so weird.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was something I was like, because I loved it growing up. Watched it all the time. And when I came over here, I was so sad. I was like, looking in front of it, and it didn't exist. And so, although there are some Aboriginal radio stations and there's some other things like that, I think you said you're right. It's like in Indian country, Aboriginal country, that there is a network, but reaching out and making sure that people who may have been displaced with residential schools, families that have been broken up, have access to some of these things as well, and are welcome back in. So you got involved by happenstance, right? Someone brought you in, and how did you decide to bring these guys in?
Well, Peter is actually really cool when it comes to the families. Like, we're totally kid friendly, so I would bring my boys to work with me. I was working throughout the summer, and that's how Austin ended up in the play. He was just there, so like, well, you're here, let's see what you can do, and he happened to really enjoy it.
And Austin, what was it like for you to start acting in one of these plays?
It was actually pretty cool. I liked it. It was pretty cool that I was actually really good at it.
Well, like, I could definitely see that in you.
But like, at the start, I felt like, oh no, I just felt like I wasn't that good at it. Then the boss of the
Like the director?
Yeah, the director, everything. They all said that I was really good at acting, and I want to try it again. So we made a few new plays. I got asked to play in them. I said yeah, sure. So played in them, and I was good.
Well, I can't wait to see you on the stage. I know we're really looking forward to that here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center. And again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the play Generation that's going to be happening here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center on November 18th at 7:30 p.m. The doors are going to open up at 7 o'clock, and you'll have an opportunity to experience this play for yourself. Now, so all three of you are in the show. Cheyenne, are you actually in the performance?
Not this one, no. I'm mostly backstage.
So you're directing this time?
Yeah. Peter and I are both directing, but Peter's kind of taking most of the directing. he's the one with the experience. He knows what he's doing. So I'm kind of basically shadowing him at this point. but there are certain scenes, like there's dance scenes that had to be done that I had to direct. I'm doing a lot with the costuming and the backstage work and stuff like that. So for this show, I will more than likely be backstage.
So because the dancing in the costuming, so you're talking about regalia then and traditional dance.
In some parts, yeah, we have one character that spends the entire time in regalia.
Really?
Yeah. So my job this week is to make his regalia. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then the rest of the time, they're basically just trying to get as close to period dress as possible.
Okay. So you're looking at so you're looking for dress from the 1960s, 70s, and then previously as well, and then up into the modern era. So I think this is really, really interesting. So this play, is it for tourists? Is it for locals? Who are you hoping are going to come out?
Everyone, yeah. It's just trying to reach as far as we can, I think. One of the reasons why I had wanted to bring this play specifically to New York is because I grew up here.
Okay.
I grew up in the Falls. I grew up in Tuscarora, and a lot of my family's here. So when we went on tour, I'm like, okay, well, can we go into New York State? Because I'd love to be able to bring my family out and have them see what we do. So Peter was like, yeah, if you want to go cross-border, have at her and see what we can set up.
No, I think that that's amazing, and I honestly think that there's going to be a wonderful audience, and hopefully it sells out and we got to bring you back again. So if you're out there and you want to get tickets, like I said, make sure you give us a call at 282-7530. That's 716-282-7530. And you're going to ask for tickets for Generation. And it's $10 for general admission, $5 for students, seniors, and veterans. And make sure you get those tickets. Seating will be limited, and they are selling fast. So please make sure you get those things. Although I'm sure we'll try to fit you in at the door. I just don't know how we proceed. So, do you know this? What was it like for you? You've produced this play a few times.
Mm-hmm.
What struck you the most about what it was like to perform it? And this goes for all of you because you've done it, right? What was it like for you to be on the stage doing it? And what surprised you the most about your audience's reaction? Let's start with you, Rick. The character, Rick, right? It's Andrew.
Yeah. Well, what surprised me the most about the audience, when I got done the play, I went to go hug my Aunt Renee, and she told me I did a real good job, and these two ladies behind her, they're elder ladies, and they said to me, oh, do you mind if we have a word with you? I said, yeah, it's fine. They go, well, what I want to tell you is that we lived right down the road from the residential school right here in Brantford here, and we had no idea that was going on with all the students and all the kids. We didn't see them playing out front. We didn't see them doing nothing out front. We just seen them entering the school, and that was it. We just thought they were being taught stuff.
Yeah, and that's a lot of ways that things happen in the world, is that people don't know what happens, right? And unless you speak out, unless you raise your voice, right, and tell your story, then no one knows what's happening out there, right? And people that don't know, some people do, right? Someone out there knows what it is. But it really, one of the benefits of living we like to think that as a nation, as a people, as Americans, all in all, maybe there's hope that the populace will have some better choices that we've made in the past, right? So, and making sure that people know that there's still residual effects, right? Families are still broken apart. Things are still happening, and that affects everyone. Now, I think that's an important thing to know. And what about you, my friend? What was the most interesting thing for you?
At the end, we had to do a dance. But a lot of people there, like, I was surprised that a lot of people there, like, because a lot of people knew how to do that dance. Like,
what dance is it?
What's the name?
It's a little crow hop he does at the end.
A crow hop?
Yeah, it's you basically spin in a circle, but it gets you really dizzy. I was surprised that I didn't fall over.
Well done, sir. Well done.
But it was when I went on stage, I was kind of scared, and like a lot of people said I was doing a super good job. And
so, how did you know how to crow hop? Who taught you?
No one.
No one. Did you make it up?
Nope.
Self-taught.
Self-taught. Nice.
But at the end, everyone always said that was a real good job that I did on stage, on the dances. I was actually really surprised that some people actually thought I was good, because I was always super scared. And I was I forgot one of my lines twice, and it was the same exact line.
Do you know what that line is now?
Yeah.
What is it? Oh!
Check it out on the play.
All right. We'll have to wait. I'm so make sure you say it, all right, and give us a wink when you do, so we know which one it was.
Okay.
But so I think that's really important as well. One of the things that you said is happening here is that the exact opposite of your storyline. That in this storyline, the culture of the Indigenous individuals is being stripped from them, right? And then I love the fact that this play is exactly the opposite, right? Bringing culture not only in the storyline itself back to the elders who had lost it, but in fact you're also bringing culture and knowledge to everyone in your audience, right? So that it's this wonderful, complex idea that you guys are bringing together, and I think it's brilliant. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the work. And I'm assuming the scenes, the pictures that you've taken, this is not always a happy story.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
It's pretty emotional, I think. And a lot of what we've done is real stories. These are real things that happen to real people that we're just trying to get the story out. We're trying to let people know that, it wasn't all smiles and rainbows at the time, We have a scene where we bring up Lynn Bayek, and for people in New York State who don't know who Lynn Bayek is, she's part of the Canadian government, and she I believe she's a senator. I'm not really 100% sure, but she did this speech about the residential school, and one of her lines is, only 1 in 3 kids actually attended residential school. And I'm that's not only, if only 1 in 3 kids had cancer, we'd be there is a cancer pandemic happening right now. And she's it wasn't that bad. So the idea of residential school to people who are outside of our communities is it's not that bad, because your people learned how to speak English, you learned how to write, and you learned how to survive in a white man's world. But to us, it's intergenerational traumas have happened, where families have these abuse cycles that never existed before, because they were taught that this is okay, so this is how you treat your kids, and then their kids grew up to treat their kids that way, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of bringing to light a lot of things that are kind of still hidden in the dark.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that it's super important that these things are coming forward, like I said, and it's going to be a powerful performance, right? So it may have there's hope, right? There's hope within it.
Yeah.
The very creation of the work itself is an act of hope. But know that the journey is not an easy one.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're coming out there, so what are you hoping that people experience?
For me, I gauge success in a way we change your life even for a second. If we can make you feel the emotion that's happening on stage, we've done our job. So we want people to laugh. We want people to cry. We want people to feel frustration and anger at certain points. But we're not looking for any one reaction.
Gotcha. And I think that's really important. So, what do you think the impact of this work will be?
We're hoping that we're just going to make people aware that these are things that have happened that continue to affect our people. I think a lot of people don't really understand what an intergenerational trauma is and the effects of it. So we have these stereotypes that have sprung up with anything. I mean, like you see them in Old West movies, you see them in cinema all the time, actually, where you see like Native people are drunks, Native people are this, Native people are that, and this is where it all stems from. Like, we didn't start out life, like 1400s overall drunks. This is all stuff that was introduced that has continued to perpetuate in cycles within our people.
No, and I think that's a really important aspect. We said that talking about trauma, talking about hope, talking about taking back that kind of power, and bringing it back to communities, right? And then bringing this work to them themselves. So you have more plays in the works.
Yes. Yeah.
How do I find out more? What is it like?
We have a website. Actually, if you Google Brant Theatre, most of the time we're the first hit, Brant Theatre Workshops. We have a website where we have most of our stuff is on there. We did a play called Walk in My Mocks in August and September, and we're planning on trying to bring that out as a tour as well, provided we can get our director back. So Maggie, if you're listening, we really miss you and we want you back. And she's 20 years old. She wrote and directed the play, and then had to move on to other things. Yeah. So we're hoping that we can bribe her back with kindness and smiles and and bring that onto her.
You better watch out. She's going to tell you to take a walk in her mocks, right?
She might.
You're learning how to direct it this time, so. And the story is one of the things that is amazing about theater and stories and these sorts of things is, yes, this is a type of oral tradition, so like you memorize and you do these things. However, it's also typically shared in such a way that it lives long beyond us.
Yeah.
Right? It's a great marriage of those two traditions. And I think this is something that's going to do exceptionally well here. I know, so you should keep us in mind. I'm sure that the NAC would love to partner.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To bring these things here to the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center and to anyone who'd like to come. And have you thought about broadcasting it?
I'm not sure if we thought about that. We haven't talked about it.
So there you go. You heard it here first. Like, there's at least planted a seed. Maybe it'll come. But it's definitely something that I know we're looking forward to. So you're gonna be producing some more plays. And what about the two of you? Are you gonna write?
I plan on writing.
Have you written anything yet?
Written a little bit. Like, there was a part where Gary Farmer came in and worked with us on the play, where we had to rewrite a whole scene. Mm-hmm. And all like 6 of us took a turn writing a scene. So when I got into that, I told myself, yeah, I can get into screenplay writing, no problem. I like this kind of stuff.
And so have you seen any of your words actually on stage yet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did it feel?
Great. That's my part right there. Yeah, I wrote that.
And did the actors ever get your lines wrong?
No.
Were you the one speaking the lines?
No.
Oh.
This little guy here.
Oh, you did. So now, have you had a chance to write anything?
Yeah, actually a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote the end scene on the old play. I wrote,
which we did keep.
Yeah.
The end scene.
Did they write any scenes in this play?
I don't think you've written whole scenes, but lines, definitely.
Yeah, I've definitely made lines in this play.
Very cool. So had you ever been a writer before?
No, not really. But I've also made a few other scenes in the old play.
Very neat.
Did we ever keep any of them?
Well, when you become the director, you get to keep them all.
We turned one into a different scene.
Yeah.
We had to rework that one for the times.
So now, if from the three of you, you said that you're writing plays, you're doing these types of activities, and I said once again, if you're just tuning in, Generations is going to be happening here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center. Sorry, Generation.
Yeah.
Is happening here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center. It's a Six Nations story, and that is happening here on November 18th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are currently available, both online, of course, when you arrive here at 1201 Pine Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center, or by giving us a call to our box office at 282-7530. It's 716-282-7530. And we're happy to take your information and reserve your tickets for you that way. So, what do you want to write a play about? Like, you have some things in the works, but do you have anything that you have burning in you that's like, all right, this is my next project?
Shapeshifters.
Really? Tell me more.
Well, I contacted Cheyenne at one point and I asked her if shapeshifters were real. And she says they're a very real thing. And I told her I may have come in contact with one. And it was one night when me and my buddy were driving home. And we got talking about it, is that if an animal's eyes doesn't glow in the dark, then they're basically a shapeshifter. So we ran into one on our way to dropping me off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my god, there's one right there. And he swerved at it and missed it. And then a couple of weeks later, it shows up right in my laneway with another dog. So it was a shapeshifter as a dog.
You know, and that's one of the things that it's a very traditional, and it's not uncommon, right? Like the stories of shapeshifters throughout this area, and of course throughout Salamanca, right? That there's a number of what they consider to be American monsters, right, or various other indigenous creatures, right, versus indigenous people, who are been found. And it's very interesting to hear more about the memories and things and way things are explained, right, from various individuals. I think I'm like, I gotta tell you, I bet it would be very popular. Although I hate scary things and I'm not going to say it. So I'm like,
you can crawl under the bed.
No, they're living under there. No. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm like, nope. And I'm like, thank you very much for the thought process, but I'm like, I'll read the book. So other things that, of course, that are happening around here. So tell me a little bit, who's in this production?
We have these two guys here, Austin and Andrew. We have a little girl named Keisha Green from Six Nations. We also have a Keisha from Brantford. And RJ Borg is from Brantford as well. And we have Terry Bedard, who's also from Brantford, or the Brant area. I'm not sure if she's actually in Brantford, but that's basically our cast.
Can't forget about Nick.
Oh, and Nick, yes, Nick is our demonized white man for this production. He gets to be Pierre Trudeau and our first prime minister, that great amazing dude on our $5 bill. Yeah, and he plays the headmaster of the school. So poor Nick. I mean, he's the sweetest guy in the world, but we just made a monster out of him this production.
I'm like, there's in this case, although, yeah, somewhat of a difficult concept, but in this regard,
yes, he's not a good dude at all.
He's not a good dude, right? And those things are the problem is that they're true.
Yeah.
Right, like there's and that's one of the differences, of course.
Oh, and he's Teddy Roosevelt as well. Yeah.
So like, which of course is also a challenging and problematic character. I think that's also one of the differences between stereotypes and like saying like you made a monster, like the sort of a caricature.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly what we did. Is we took these real political figures in North America and we just created characters out of them, because it's like we're to a point now where we can't just continually be mad at the things that these people have done.
Yeah.
It's, we kind of have to take a step away from being angry at it and kind of poke some fun at it, because I mean they did it and it happened and it kind of messed us up a little bit, but what are you going to do? But, you know.
No, it is, but I also think that's also a form of power, right? That when you are able to, when you do characterize or you do bring that in, that is a form of power. Like laughter is one of the strongest medicines, they say, right? That is one of the ways that nothing. We're talking about whether it's Gandhi or Mark Twain or various other teachers and things, that laughter and the ability to laugh at one's oppressors or be able to take that and say, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is a form of power. And that is a form of expression. And it's important to see that point of view. But it's a challenging place to be. So tell me, where is this play going to be produced anywhere else?
We are working on some local schools around Six Nations where we can actually bring the play to them and possibly get involved in some workshopping with the students and stuff like that. So we've been talking about that with a few schools. We're also working on friendship centers in the area of Southern Ontario. So we're open to pretty much going anywhere. We're pretty adaptable. We're outdoor theater, so being indoors is really a new thing for us.
Welcome inside. And actually, I think that's even, and the fact that it's in a school, I think, is also very interesting. Little twist of fate as well. So if you're out there and you would like to invite this theater company, and what is the name of your theater company?
Brant Theatre Workshops.
Brant Theatre Workshops to your school, to your institution, or you'd like to do that in some way, invite them out to give a talk about their work, or to see one of their plays themselves. Would you guys be open to that?
Oh, definitely.
And how would they contact you?
We have a email. It's btheater@rogers.com.
So just the letter B.
Yeah.
Theater.
Yeah.
Spelled R-E or
R-E, yeah.
Like, spelled the Canadian way. At rogers.com.
Yeah.
And so make sure you can check that out. And we'll make sure that we have a link on that on our website as well at www.thenac.org. And you can also check that out on our Facebook page. And we'll make sure that those links are available for you so you can take a look at those things and book them into your space, which I think would be an absolutely fabulous idea. So, what else would you like to tell our audience today about what's happening in your neighborhood?
Well, currently we are the only theater company in our area that focuses on any point in time on Native theater.
Really?
There were Native theater companies in Six Nations, but they have kind of dispersed as far as we've been able to tell.
Wow.
We haven't seen a production come out of any of the companies in probably about 5 years now. So we're the only ones that really have any Native actors, which turns into other theater companies asking us for Native actors.
Well, and that makes sense,
yeah.
Right? Like, especially if one of the complaints you're talking about, like, you know, Wild West and other things, is the fact that there's so many people pretending to be Native, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then, but what do you do if you need a Native actor?
Yeah.
Right? If there's no Native actors to be found, right? And that's something that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you're raising future actors.
Yep.
2 of which are in the audience right now, right? You guys are ready and willing to take on roles.
Always ready. Always ready.
Especially, you know, they can start getting their SAG gigs. The Actors Guild, right? Start getting breaking into the movies. But then you got to come back and still do the live theater.
I'd love it.
Okay. So that's it. I think that's really shocking that there are so few theater companies being produced or plays that are being done. Do you know of anything? And if you have any questions or comments, give us a call at 716-297-1059. That's 297-1059 to go live here at the NAC. So, is there another way that the listeners can get involved or find out more about learning about Indigenous history and culture?
My suggestion is to start on Google. Google knows everything.
When in doubt, Google it out.
Yes, exactly. When I was in school, I had a teacher who was awesome. We did a unit in Native history, Canadian history, with that. It had a picture of the mush hole with 2 lines underneath it, and it said, "These are schools Native people sent their kids to be educated," and that was it. And I'm like, well, wasn't there more to it than that? And she gave me this list of websites, and she's like, I can't, because of the curriculum, teach you any more than what's in this book, but I'm bound by ethics. And if you want to learn more, this is where you find it. So I did my own research, really, and that's basically where I went with it, is I'm not going to find what I'm looking for in a history book, because the people who write the history books don't want to be the bad guy. So you're not going to find any government textbook that's going to tell you exactly what happened. But there is a lot of places where, like, soldier journals were found. They're listed online. We actually had a discussion with a professor from Cornell who found soldiers' journals, which outlined exactly how the Haudenosaunee people ended up from the Finger Lake region into where we are now, which is in southern Ontario, and we're in Quebec and kind of everywhere. But those are things that you're not going to find in school. You're not going to learn these things in school. My uncle actually told me that he didn't even know that residential schools existed, and he went to school out here in New York. And like Andrew said, there was people in Brantford who grew up in Brantford and had no idea that building was a residential school. As far as they knew, that Brantford was untainted. So when they found out about that, it was like a big thing for them. Like, minds were blown during the first production of this play. So yeah, I would definitely do your own research. Always double check your own research, because you can't always trust Google.
Well, Google's got it all, but that means that everyone gets an opinion.
Yeah.
Right? And some of those opinions have basis, and some of them are, opinions. Right? Some are based on fact, and some of them are based on experience. And so I think that's important, like I said, to learn more about Indigenous history and culture. And one of the things that, like I said, that I, from reading the description of the play, tells me that, reintroducing language arts, dance, and culture. Do you know of any, like I said, you said the Tuscarora are currently teaching classes in the Tuscarora language.
Yeah.
And then are there other people or places that you're working with that are teaching language?
Not that we're personally working with.
You said you learned some Cayuga.
Yeah, Austin's been in Cayuga language immersion since he was 2.
Really?
So
You too?
Yeah, this one's Austin.
No, I know you, but you raised your hand. So you've also.
He pretty much teaches me.
Yeah, he's the one that's like, hold on, guys, you didn't say that right. Back it up. Stop production. We need to deal with this one word.
So can you say something in Cayuga for us?
Scano.
Oh, Nyawe Scano.
Oh, that was like the simplest.
Isn't it? That's hello, right, or welcome, right?
Yeah.
Give him a good one.
What did you think about this play? Would answer me in Cayuga.
I got it.
You liked it. I'm like, and what? Let's see. You could ask me a question in Cayuga, but you'd have to translate for me, so for me to answer.
We're putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Too quiet. You can say, "Stop putting me on the spot."
How about down at Niaso?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What's your name? Okay. I'm just thinking, because some words in Cayuga, people think they mean something, and they mean something else. Like, Sigajrewa.
Word. Our languages are so descriptive that if we say something, it translates into English as the understanding of the word, but the breaking it down
but the
is
meaning
completely
is
different. Yeah.
Which is very similar to, there's many languages, of course, and indigenous languages, particular like Navajo and so on, were actually used by code breakers. You're probably familiar with that.
Yeah.
Because the language was so different than so many of the European languages and other things that people just simply couldn't break the code. Yep. Right?
The first one they used was actually Mohawk.
And those are the kinds of things, that this is the language. And for many people, they probably have never heard. They've never heard the language. and to hear the sounds that it makes, to hear the voice speak it, is something that you don't want to ever have lost.
Yeah.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why I was asking you to say something, or to make the sounds, or to do those things, so that the people who are out there listening right now who've never heard the sound of a Cayuga language, who wouldn't be familiar with those kinds of things, would have an opportunity to do so, even if it's just for a moment.
Yeah.
And so that is the reason I was asking you to speak a little bit, not to put you on the spot. At least not today. I promise we'll do it next time. But to do that. And so will some of the language be heard in the play?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we have a lot
Oh my gosh, that was a very strong response.
we use a lot of our songs in the play, which I took my cousin's kids, actually. There's 3 of my cousins who are they're singers, and I use them in the audio. So there's the social songs. There's actually one of them I pulled off the internet, and I believe it's one of the guys from Tuscarora that's singing, if I'm not mistaken. It's at the Tuscarora Indian picnic.
Oh, very nice.
So
It's a great picnic.
I can't remember for sure which person it is, but that is where the song came from.
Okay.
Was the Indian picnic.
We've been very lucky to host a few socials here, and whatnot over the years. We've had a number of Indigenous folks who've been on our board director, various other things. Because we're in the middle, right? This is one of the longest continually occupied areas in the world, right? For Indigenous people. This area, at least as far as we know, goes back previously to the Hopewellians and so on. And this area has indications that it's been occupied for 9,000 or more years, right?
And a lot of our nations have stories about the falls, Devil's Hole in particular.
Well,
yeah. So
I would be super interested in finding out. And actually, I think that's something that should be added to the history when there's so many tours and things coming in here.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I was actually surprised when I did the Maid of the Mist tour, and they're like, well, yeah, the story is that they sacrificed this lady, and that was basically the end of it. Like, there was no reason as to why it happened or anything, and I know that my nation has a story about it, and I know that other nations have different stories about why this girl went over the falls.
Yes.
So
everything from Hino to it's very interesting.
It would be really cool for them to actually be able to tell some of the Aboriginal history and stories of the area.
All right, so I think I hear right now our next project.
Well, we're working on a few. We've tossed around a few ideas.
Oh, he's got one.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see.
We want to do the creation story.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a good idea.
I was actually just gonna say that. I've been working on writing the creation story almost 6 months now. We've talked about it a few times. We're not really sure if we're going to be able to do it this coming year or the year after or whatnot, but our creation story is so long, and there's so many little offshoot stories that come from it. It's kind of hard for me to decide where to go with it next, so it's been a very long work in progress, but...
We actually have a sculpture of Sky Woman on our lawn.
Really?
We do. It was done by artist Tom Huff, and it's actually right out front. It's permanently displayed. It's a large stone sculpture. It's a few thousand pounds. So, but yeah, so I can't wait to see some of that coming down, and I know we're going to stay tuned to find out more about what's coming out, both in for the traditional creation story and your creation story, right? To find out how you guys are making these things. And again, if you want to know more about this play in particular, or about all the things that are coming, I'm sure you'll bring more information. Generation, the story of Ray, from residential school, he travels to Vietnam and back, and only through the teachings of children and grandmother on 6 nations does he rediscover his language, dance, and traditions. So in this journey, he finds himself. And that is going to be on November 18th at 7:30 p.m. In the Woodbox Theater at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center on Pine Avenue. That's 1201 Pine Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, 14301. And the ticket office again is 7530. And we are here with Cheyenne Williams, and she has brought with her two of the amazing actors from the production who are playing Ray himself and Little Ray. Hello, Little Ray.
And also Ozzy.
And who's Ozzy?
Characters. He is actually Ozzy. We used his own name in the play.
Two of my own names.
Two of his own names. Ozzy is a kid that Ray encounters after he comes back.
Okay, so we're going to find out more about that again. We hope that you can join us here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center on November 18th for this production as well as many other. And actually, you can make an entire day of it. On November 18th, not only will this play being happening in the evening time, but also there is going to be a tour of the Niagara region happening that same day. The Niagara Falls Historic Preservation Society will be hosting the 125th anniversary of the city of Niagara Falls. Will be here, and so people will be coming around on the trolley from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So be going around and getting exclusive look into some of the architecture and history of this region through this example, going to historic Holy Trinity Church, Power City, Akron House, Red Coach, Courtyard Baron, which is the old chocolate factory, and so on. So find out more information about the Niagara Falls Historic Preservation Society at nfhps.org. That's nfhps.org. You can also find it, of course, on our website, and you can get tickets to that event as well at 282-7530. Tickets are $25, so you can spend your day there, head out, have lunch, and come back to see Generation. And I love the connotations of that name, Generation, right? Like that you're creating something and it is a generation. Loved everything. Was that your idea?
It was our artistic director, Peter.
Love it, but for whatever reason, keep putting an S on that sucker. So so Generation happening here at the Niagara Arts and Cultural Center. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in to WJJL.
And we were also actually talking about doing a meet and greet after the play was over.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
So, depending on whether the audience wants to stick around and ask us some questions, we're open to that as well.
Sounds good.
I was just about to say that.
Sorry.
Well, there you're gonna have to say. Well, can you welcome? Can you invite people in Cayuga?
Oh, this is really bugging me because I know how to do it.
Easy. Good job.
Oh my god. It's at the tip of my tongue.
So, well, I didn't get it at all. How did you say it?
The jump.
Did you?
That's saying come in, basically.
Like welcome.
Well, I think that's a great way to end the show. Thank you so much, John, for hosting us today.
And are you going to switch us over? Or Vince is going to do it.
Oh.
Okay, Vince, take us away.
What period of time did they do the residential schools?
Yeah, we're off. They were open from, I'm trying to think of what date. The Mushhole was actually the first one in Canada. I believe it was I want to say it was in the 1820s, but that sounds like it's super early. But it ran for like 100 years, basically. Yeah.
The last one closed in 1996.
1996 in BC.
The second name that is mine in the play is Donge. That's my actual name.
Donge?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I think, that's the residential schools were put into place, and it intentionally with the idea of actually breaking family ties and family connections, because the Native American spirit was considered too strong to break. So the only way to do it was to stop the children from learning what it was. It's
They still didn't do it right.
No. And it's the thing. It's the exact same program that they used on the Celts.
Yeah.
On the Irish.
And they did it in Australia as well.
Any of the indigenous peoples.
So after that, then what kind of schools did you go to?
They started the residential school as a day school, turned it into a residential school. This is the one in Brantford. Turned it into a residential school, and then they started bringing in kids from all different communities. So it wasn't just the kids from Six Nations that were going there. And then they turned it back into a day school just before they closed, I believe, in 1970. And then the schooling kind of it wasn't really handed off to the reserve, but they started building schools on the reserve. But none of the teachers that taught the kids were Native teachers, even though there